Have you ever wondered why some traders seem to walk into the battlefield of markets with a strange serenity, as if the storms of panic and greed cannot touch them, while others collapse under the weight of every price tick? Imagine the market as a grand theater of shadows, where money is merely the mask, but the true drama unfolds in the soul of the trader. Jesse Livermore, the legendary figure behind Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, was not merely speculating with stocks, he was wrestling with his unconscious, with archetypes that demanded recognition, with the eternal tension between order and chaos. His victories and his defeats were not accidents of price, but revelations of the psyche, mirrors of the inner landscape projected onto the ticker tape. Most traders enter the market believing it to be a place of numbers, charts, and rational strategy. Yet beneath the numbers lies something far older, the mythic struggle between fear and greed, the twin gods of finance who demand their tribute. Livermore knew this better than most. He rose like a comet, only to burn and fall, again and again, because he was not just trading securities, he was trading himself. The market became his confessional, his battlefield, his mirror, and in that mirror, he confronted what every trader must face, the shadow. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow as the denied, repressed part of the psyche, the impulses we push away, but which return with greater force when ignored. In trading, the shadow emerges as the need to prove oneself, the hunger for validation through profit, the refusal to accept limits. Livermore life reveals this archetype with brutal clarity. Each fortune gained and lost was an alchemical trial, a test of whether he could master not the market, but himself. Every crash was not just a financial collapse, but a confrontation with the unconscious forces he could not fully integrate. Perhaps this speaks to you. Have you ever felt the intoxicating rush of a winning trade, the way it floods your veins with a sense of invincibility? And have you noticed how quickly that invincibility decays into recklessness, into overconfidence, into the whisper that you cannot lose? That is not the market speaking. That is your shadow, clothed in the costume of the hero, urging you toward hubris. And have you felt the opposite, the crushing weight of loss that does not merely empty your account, but also your sense of worth? That despair, too, is not simply financial, it is psychological. It is the market tearing away the mask and showing you the wounded child who still seeks approval. Livermore himself was both predator and prey in this theater. He embodied the archetype of the alchemist, seeking to transmute chaos into order, panic into profit. Yet he was also haunted by the trickster, the shadowed force that whispered illusions and drew him into traps of his own making. He made and lost fortunes because the deeper battle was never with the market, but with himself. His story is a warning, but also a revelation. The greatest lessons of trading lie not in charts or systems, but in the confrontation with the inner world. The Stoics would have understood this. Seneca warned that wealth is a test of character, not its foundation. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the need to discipline the mind, to remain unmoved by fortune or ruin. The market, like life, cannot be controlled, but the self can. And this is where Livermore tragedy becomes your lesson. The archetype of the eternal trader is not the man who wins every time, but the one who sees that the market is a mirror, and in that mirror he learns to master himself. If you listen carefully, you will notice that every tick of the tape is not just price, but reflection. The hesitation before entering a trade reveals your fear of loss. The rush to double down after a win reveals your addiction to euphoria. The paralysis in the face of volatility reveals your craving for certainty in an uncertain world. And so, the true game is not external, but internal. The market is not your enemy. The market is your teacher. And like every true teacher, it is ruthless in stripping away illusions. What would you think if I told you that the secret of Reminiscences of a Stock Operator is not hidden in the strategies Livermore used, but in the psychological odyssey he endured? His story is a Jungian journey of individuation, an attempt to reconcile the warring parts of himself, the gambler, the strategist, the hero, the shadow. It is also a warning to you. If you enter the market without knowing yourself, the market will show you who you are, and it will do so with merciless clarity. The storm that rages outside is nothing compared to the storm that rages within, and only the trader who confronts that inner storm can ever hope to find calm amidst the chaos of markets. The ticker tape flows like a river, and with each current it carries more than numbers, it carries fragments of the human soul. For Jesse Livermore, the stream of prices became a living entity. a mythic oracle that whispered truths and lies in equal measure. Every movement, upward or downward, was not just an opportunity, but a confrontation with the archetypal forces of fortune and ruin. To follow the tape was to follow the collective unconscious of the market, a place where fear, greed, and hope danced in eternal conflict. He did not merely read the tape, he wrestled with it, like Jacob wrestling the angel, demanding a blessing but always leaving marked by the struggle. What haunts traders is not the randomness of markets, but the randomness within themselves. Livermore showed that the real enemy is not volatility, but the mind refusal to face its own volatility. He entered trades with great conviction, yet behind every conviction stood the restless shadow of doubt, the trickster whispering that the rules could be bent, the discipline abandoned, the lessons skipped. The archetype of the gambler lives within every trader, promising ecstasy with each risk and redemption with each win. Yet the gambler is a false prophet, a seductive mask that hides the abyss. To surrender to him is to lose yourself in cycles of euphoria and despair, until profit and loss are no longer about numbers, but about identity. Have you felt this yourself? The way a small win inflates you beyond proportion, as if the market has anointed you as chosen, or the way a crushing loss echoes like a personal betrayal, stripping away your illusions and leaving you raw, exposed, and uncertain. These moments are not about money. They are about self-worth, about ego, about the fragile house of identity you build on the shifting sands of the market. Livermore himself stood as a tragic exemplar of this truth. Each fortune he amassed was not enough, because what he sought was not wealth, but wholeness. Each collapse revealed that he had not yet integrated his shadow, that he was still enslaved by forces within that demanded acknowledgement, but were met with denial. The Stoics would have urged him toward detachment. Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you respond, that determines your fate. The market cannot wound you if you have already renounced the illusion that it defines you. Seneca would have reminded him that wealth is indifferent, that fortune smiles and frowns at random, and that the only true possession is mastery of the self. Yet Livermore, like many, was caught in the archetypal storm of hubris and despair. He believed at times that he had conquered the market, only to be reminded by fate that no man conquers chaos without first conquering himself. Do you notice how this mirrors your own journey? The charts you analyze, the strategies you test, the risk management plans you build, they are all scaffolding. Beneath them lies the real question. What are you trying to prove in this arena of shadows? Are you trading for profit or for validation? Do you seek freedom or do you crave approval? When the market turns against you, do you accept it as the nature of things, or do you rage as if it has exposed something shameful within you? These questions cannot be avoided. They stalk you as surely as the shadow stalked Livermore. To ignore them is to repeat his cycles. To face them is to begin the work of individuation, the slow integration of all that you deny within yourself. Jung spoke of individuation as the process of becoming whole, of reconciling the conscious self with the unconscious forces that shape it. In trading, individuation means accepting that fear and greed are not enemies to be destroyed, but energies to be understood and balanced. Fear can protect you, greed can drive you, but left unchecked, they will devour you. The trader who individuates learns to hear the voices without obeying them blindly. He stands in the storm without being swept away, because he knows the storm is also within him, and he has made peace with its presence. Livermore's tragedy was not that he lost fortunes. His tragedy was that he could not find peace, even in victory. He was haunted by the archetype of the eternal pursuer, the man who chases the horizon but never arrives. And perhaps this speaks to you. Have you ever noticed that no profit is enough, no victory satisfying, that even when you win, you are already looking to the next trade, the next conquest, the next chance to prove yourself? This is the curse of the eternal pursuer. To break it, one must shift from chasing validation to seeking mastery, from grasping at outcomes to embracing process. The tape, in its ceaseless motion, is not a promise of riches, it is a mirror, showing you who you are in every tick. Will you see yourself clearly, or will you, like Livermore, remain captive to the illusions of the shadow? The choice is yours, but the market is merciless in revealing the truth. The market is a stage upon which every trader enacts a timeless drama, a place where the archetypes of hero, fool, trickster, and sage reveal themselves with brutal honesty. Jesse Livermore, in the pages of Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, appears not as a mere technician of price, but as an unwitting actor in this psychological theater. His triumphs embody the archetype of the warrior, disciplined, focused, willing to strike when opportunity appears. Yet just as often, he fell into the role of the tragic hero, undone, not by the market malice, but by his own unchecked impulses, his hubris, his refusal to bow to limits. Each fortune won and lost was not only a financial cycle, but an inner cycle of inflation and collapse, the psyche swelling with victory only to shatter under the weight of its own excess. Most traders believe they are battling others, competing against institutions, rivals, or faceless algorithms. Yet the real battle lies within. The opponent is the restless ego, the craving for control in an uncontrollable world. Livermore's story is proof of this. The moments he thrived were not accidents. They were born of patience, of an almost stoic endurance as he waited for the right conditions. He could watch the market for weeks, silent and restrained, until the alignment was clear. That discipline, that restraint, reflected in archetypal wisdom, the sage who knows that power comes not from action alone, but from the courage to wait. But discipline is not a one-time victory. It is a continual confrontation with temptation. And here, Livermore faltered, as every trader does. The gambler within him, the shadow archetype of reckless desire, pulled him back into the whirlpool of overtrading, proving that the greatest danger is not missing the opportunity, but grasping too greedily for it. Has this ever happened to you? You tell yourself you will wait, that you will follow your system, that you will only trade when the signal is undeniable. But then, as the market dances just out of reach, impatience begins to whisper. You begin to chase, convincing yourself that bending the rule just this once will do no harm. And in that moment, you are not acting from wisdom but from the shadow. You are not trading the market, you are trading your own anxiety, your own refusal to sit with discomfort. The loss that follows is not simply financial. It is a revelation of the places within you that are still ruled by fear of missing out, by hunger for validation, by the inability to endure uncertainty. The Stoics warned of this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the mind must remain like a rock, unmoved by the crashing waves of fortune. Seneca urged the cultivation of indifference to outcomes, knowing that fortune gives and fortune takes. To be tossed about by gains and losses is to live as a slave to chance. Yet to remain calm in the face of both is to live as a master of oneself. Livermore, at his best, touched this truth when he cut losses quickly, when he let winners run, when he refused to be swayed by the noise of the crowd. But he also betrayed it when he overextended, when he ignored his own rules, when he became intoxicated with success. In this, he is not unlike you, not unlike any trader who believes that external mastery can be achieved without internal mastery. Think of the archetype of the alchemist. The alchemist does not seek gold in the crude sense, but transformation of the self. The furnace of markets provides that fire, that crucible in which the base metals of fear and greed are burned away, leaving behind the possibility of something purer. But the alchemist who rushes the process destroys the work. Livermore rushed, again and again, and his failures reveal what happens when transformation is sought without humility, without patience, without full acknowledgement of the shadow. The alchemy collapses, and the work must begin again. How often has your own trading journey reflected this? Cycles, small gains built with discipline, wiped away in one reckless act of impatience. That is the archetype repeating itself, until you choose to learn. To walk the trader path is to face temptation daily. Every chart is a test, every move is a mirror. And in that mirror you see not the market, but yourself. You see your hunger, your fear, your illusions. If you dare to look deeper, you also see your potential, the calm watcher who can wait without flinching, the disciplined warrior who strikes only when necessary, the sage who knows that profit is fleeting but mastery endures. Livermore's life is a cautionary tale because he embodied all these archetypes, yet never fully reconciled them. He was warrior, gambler, sage, and fool, all at once. His brilliance dazzled, but his shadow consumed him. And this, perhaps, is the greatest lesson for you. The market does not ask for brilliance. It asks for wholeness. It demands that you confront every part of yourself, the part that fears losing, the part that craves winning, the part that longs for validation, the part that hungers for freedom. Only when you have faced them all can you stand in the storm without being swept away. The question is not whether you can beat the market. The question is whether you can face yourself in its mirror and remain unbroken. The market is not chaos alone. Beneath its noise lies a rhythm, a pulse, the heartbeat of collective desire and fear. Jesse Livermore sensed this rhythm like a hunter senses the movement of prey in tall grass. He called it tape reading, but in truth it was a communion with the unconscious of the crowd. He learned to listen, to feel when the masses were trembling with panic or swelling with greed. At his finest, he embodied the archetype of the seer, the one who gazes into the storm and perceives the hidden order. But the gift of sight is a double-edged sword, for to see the rhythm is to be tempted by it, to believe you have power over it, to mistake awareness for mastery. Livermore's fall came, again and again, from confusing vision with control. Some traders today repeat his fate. They sense patterns, they win, and suddenly the whisper begins. You are different. You cannot be beaten. The market bends to your will. That is not truth. That is the trickster archetype, laughing as you build castles on sand. The moment you believe you control the market, you have already lost. Jung would call this the inflation of the ego, when the self identifies with godlike power and forgets its limits. The market exists to remind you of those limits. Every spike, every crash, every black swan is a messenger from chaos, a reminder that no human can bend fate to his will. The wise trader bows before this truth, but the proud trader resists, and in resisting, he shatters. Have you noticed this in your own path? After a streak of wins, do you begin to feel invulnerable, as if risk is an illusion, and the market exists only to reward you? And then, just as the belief takes root, comes the blow that cuts deeper than expected, leaving not only financial loss, but also a wound to your identity. That is the archetype at work. The market is ruthless in exposing pride. It is not punishing you. It is teaching you that mastery lies not in control, but in surrender. To trade well is not to dominate chaos, but to dance with it, to accept its unpredictability without collapsing into despair. Livermore wrestled with this lesson all his life. He was the hero who rose from nothing, who bent the market to his vision and carved fortunes from panic itself. But he was also the tragic hero, undone by the same hubris that lifted him. The Stoics would have urged him to practice ataraxia, the calm state beyond disturbance, the serenity that comes not from winning but from detachment. Marcus Aurelius wrote that all things external are like smoke, fleeting and unsubstantial. Had Livermore embraced this wisdom fully, perhaps his end would not have been so heavy. Yet his story is not wasted, because it remains a mirror for every trader who follows. It reveals that the path of mastery is not paved with victories alone, but with the courage to accept loss without self-destruction. Think of the market as an alchemical furnace. It heats the raw ore of your psyche, bringing impurities to the surface. Impatience bubbles up, greed bursts into flame, fear coils like smoke. Each trade exposes another fragment of shadow, another hidden truth about who you are. The weak run from this furnace, seeking quick riches and quick escapes. The strong remain within it, burning, refining, enduring, until something new is formed within them. This is individuation through trading, the transformation of the self through confrontation with chaos. Livermore's life was a cycle of entering and re-entering this furnace, but he never fully emerged as gold. That task remains for you. So ask yourself, when you sit before the screen, what truly drives you? Is it the pursuit of freedom, or the hunger for recognition? Do you trade to escape fear, or to confront it? Do you long for wealth, or for the deeper alchemy of becoming whole? If you do not ask these questions, the market will answer for you, and its answers will not be gentle. It will strip away your illusions trade by trade, until you either awaken or surrender. The Jungian path teaches that wholeness comes only through integration. The Stoic path teaches that peace comes only through detachment. Together, they whisper the same truth. Your worth is not your P&L. Your identity is not your balance. Your freedom is not your next win. The market is a mirror, not a master. It shows you your wounds, so that you may heal them, your shadows, so that you may integrate them, your illusions, so that you may outgrow them. Livermore tragedy is also your opportunity. You do not need to repeat his cycle. You can learn from it. You can step into the market, not as a gambler chasing highs, but as an alchemist seeking transformation. You can refuse to be broken by wins or losses, standing instead as a witness, as a learner, as one who knows that the true profit lies not in dollars but in mastery of the self. For the market is not here to destroy you, it is here to reveal you, and what it reveals is both your greatest danger and your greatest potential. There comes a moment in every trader journey when the market ceases to be an adversary and becomes something else entirely, a mirror, a crucible, a relentless teacher. Jesse Livermore, Odyssey Through Fortune and Ruin, was not about stocks alone. It was about the eternal human struggle to reconcile the outer world with the inner one. He chased wealth with the ferocity of a warrior and the intuition of a seer, yet what he truly sought was not profit but peace, not numbers but meaning. His story culminated in tragedy, not because the market was cruel, but because the inner reconciliation never came. He conquered prices, but not himself. And this, perhaps, is the most piercing truth of reminiscences of a stock operator. The real victory is not external, but internal. You may sense this already. After enough time in the markets, the wins begin to blur with the losses. Numbers lose their sting. The excitement of victory fades more quickly, and the despair of defeat does not last as long. What lingers is something deeper, the question of who you are when stripped of both. This is the heart of individuation. Jung spoke of becoming whole, of integrating the shadow, of facing the hidden parts of yourself until they no longer control you. The trader who learns this begins to see that greed is not an enemy to be destroyed, but an energy to be acknowledged, understood, and tamed. Fear is not a weakness to be eradicated, but a guardian that warns of danger. Impatience, addiction, pride, all of them can be seen, integrated, balanced. Then trading ceases to be a war and becomes a practice, a discipline, a path of self. The Stoics called it apatheia, freedom from the disturbances of passion. They did not mean numbness, but clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote of being like a promontory, against which the waves crash ceaselessly, and still it stands, unmoved. In trading, this is the state where the chaos of the market does not move you to fear or frenzy. Wins do not inflate your ego. Losses do not crush your spirit. You stand steady, not because you control the sea, but because you have mastered yourself upon the shore. Livermore never fully found this shore. His storms carried him from heights of glory to depths of despair. But you have the chance to step where he stumbled, to learn from his shadow rather than repeat it. And what does it mean for you, sitting now before your screen, to trade with this wholeness? It means to detach your worth from your results. It means to see profit as fuel, not identity. It means to cut losses without hesitation, because a single trade cannot wound who you are. It means to let winners run, not because of greed, but because patience is your ally. It means to accept uncertainty as the essence of the market, and in accepting it, to find serenity. This is the freedom every trader seeks, though many disguise it beneath the hunger for wealth. Wealth without wholeness is ruin, but wholeness, even without wealth, is liberation. Perhaps you can feel it already, that subtle shift when you no longer ask, "How much will I make?" but rather, "How deeply can I remain disciplined, present, and unshaken?" That is when trading becomes more than a profession or a gamble. It becomes a meditation, a confrontation, a spiritual practice dressed in numbers and screens. And when you trade from this place, the market no longer toys with you. It reflects you, sharp and clear, showing you where you stand in the endless battle between chaos and order. Jesse Livermore's legacy is both caution and inspiration. He proved that genius alone is not enough, that insight without discipline leads to ruin, that fortune without self-mastery is fragile. His story warns of the cost of ignoring the shadow, of inflating the ego until it bursts, of mistaking external victories for internal peace. But his story also reveals the path that remains open, the path of integration, of discipline, of detachment. If his life was a tragedy, yours can be a rebirth. For the trader who conquers the mind has already conquered the market.